You know the Mona Lisa guy? Yeah, he did way more than that. You're born in a tiny village in Italy, but your brain doesn't seem to know that. While the other kids are learning how to plow a field, you're sketching mechanical dragons in the dirt. You weren't just curious. You were a walking question mark. Everything made you wonder. Everything made you stop and go. But what if? You write backwards, you paint with one hand, and invent helicopters with the other. Your notebooks, filled with flying machines, underwater armor, robotic knights, and then suddenly a sketch of a guy whose arms stretch like a starfish. Anatomy, article engineering, all just squished into the same page. Because why not? You weren't just ahead of your time. You were so far ahead, your time had to run to catch up. And the weird part? You never finished most of it. Half your paintings, unfinished, half your inventions, never built. But the ideas, oh man, they never stopped coming. You weren't royalty. You weren't rich. You were an illegitimate kid with no formal education. But you had something way better. Obsession. Not with fame, not with status, but with truth. People hired you to paint portraits, and you'd sneak anatomical studies into the background. You'd spend all night drawing the same shoulder muscle just to figure out how it worked. Built water machines, and drew people laughing, just to study how joy moved through a face. People thought you were odd. You wore pink robes. You rarely finished your commissions. You wrote like you were hiding from the future. And maybe you were. But you didn't care, because while they were chasing approval, you were chasing answers. You invented tanks before wars were fought with bullets, scuba suits before glass was strong enough to make goggles, flying machines, before we even had runways. But most of it stayed on paper. Your gears didn't fit. Your screws were too loose. Your designs were genius. But the world around you wasn't ready. And still, you kept sketching. Over 13,000 pages of notes, all written backwards, filled with wild machines, clocks, cranes, gears, catapults. And yes, the occasional doodle of something that looked like a bird wearing armor. People say he was ahead of his time, but that's not quite right. You weren't ahead of your time. You ignored it, and just built the world you wanted to see. You didn't just paint beauty. You painted emotion, hidden thoughts, mystery. You layered paint like you were hiding something inside it. And then one day, you painted her, the Mona Lisa. She's not smiling at you. She's smiling through you, like she knows something you don't. Like she's keeping a secret, your secret. She became the most famous face on Earth. Not because she's flawless, but because she isn't. You never explained it. You never signed it. You just let people stare and argue for 500 years. And maybe that was the point. Not everything you make has to come with instructions. Some things aren't made to be understood. They're made to be felt. When you died, you left behind piles of notebooks, unfinished sketches, and a reputation for being brilliant and weird. There was no museum, no funeral parade, no statue carved in your honor, just your words. Learning never exhausts the mind, because you weren't trying to be remembered. You were trying to understand everything. Art, anatomy, light, flight, motion, emotion, all of it. And you proved something that still echoes today. That it's okay to not finish things. That being curious matters more than being perfect. And that the most powerful mind of the Renaissance was never looking for credit. He was just looking for truth.